Hi, everyone.
It's just the most abrupt end. We'll never have a non-abrupt ending. I gotta fix this microphone.
Sci-Fi Brony, who created the intros, has offered to make endings that are less abrupt. But at this point, I like it.
What?
So I
Really?
said, no, we'll stick with it. We'll stick with the abrupt endings.
This is like somebody who gets a car and they just it's a vintage car and they've had it for so long, and someone says, "Can I just fix that squeaky whatever window, or can I fix the door that just like it catches a little bit?" And someone says, "No, I like it this way."
I'm used to it. I know exactly how it squeaks. Yeah. Thank you, Link.
All right. I mean, okay, I guess. Okay, but what is the alternate? It's like a nice little fade out.
Yeah, there's a fade out. Mm-hmm. Yeah, instead of just a hoink, we're in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
That thing has been turned off. I don't know did you just hear the Google speaker?
Yeah, I heard Google responding to you.
Yeah, that thing has been off for a long time and it hasn't been functioning properly. And then all of a sudden it just wants to make itself known on the live show. So there's that.
Welcome to the show, Google. Seeing if mine reacts to that.
So, can I tell you a quick update on the cat?
Yeah, go for it. And then I have an Arium update as well that I've been saving for the live show.
Well, then you do yours, Mike.
Yours. No. Okay, so a couple of weeks ago, we mentioned obviously Arium turned up because there was time travel shenanigans and going backwards and forwards and whatnot. And as Ian often does, he remembered something off the top of his head, butchered it, and got some of it wrong. Do you remember how I said that the original... Look at that mug.
Go on, I'm listening.
The original Arium was switched out for a new Arium and then joined part of the crew, whatever. What actually happened, Arium number 1, Sarah Mittich, was allergic to the Miriam cosmetic, the makeup and all of that stuff. It was like affecting her skin. So she was like, I literally cannot do this anymore. It's making me unwell.
It's like the Tin Man.
Yeah, exactly. So they brought in Hannah Cheeseman to play Arium in season 2, and Sarah Mittich was recast as Lieutenant Nilsson.
Who also had to wear makeup.
Who only had to wear human makeup, didn't have to wear the prosthetic stuff. So they dealt with her having an allergy by recasting her as a human and then killed off the second person that was playing Arium in season 2. So that's the story. Just wanted to get that completely right.
Eventually, we will get all things right. Yeah. That's not true. We won't.
No, never. Never. If we got things right, there would be nothing to sin.
There wouldn't be. Well, and that's no fun.
We have to sin.
I sent my neighbor a picture of my trash can this morning because
that cat has a name. It's not a trash can.
At the top of my trash bin is this massive pile of cat hair because Thunderstorm is shedding. It is getting warm. We're expected to have another record-breaking summer, which is just really discouraging after the last 2 record-breaking summers. So to think it's going to be even hotter, I can't even imagine what's about to happen to us. This cat is just blowing itself out. And at first when he came over, it was cold. And so he'd come and I'd pet, there'd just be like a little bit of hair, but now it is everywhere. And so I have a brush. And since he's such a cuddle cat, I can brush him. And so I'm pretending in a way that I'm like mama cat. And I'm just pushing him down and just like, giving him a good old cleaning or whatever.
You will be groomed.
Mm-hmm. And
You're using your tongue, I assume.
Yes. Well, first I actually went and I got like a little tongue sleeve, kind of like a condom, but for your tongue,
Have you seen
and
those?
It has.
They're real?
I'm joking right now.
No. There is a thing that you put in your mouth.
No.
And you.
No.
And it's a brush thing that you, and it's like you're grooming your cat. Yeah. Yeah.
No.
It's legit. That's a thing. People
no,
have
chat.
And it feels like your mama cat. And
please
you're
tell me
cat.
that's not. Tell me that he's fucking with me.
I'm not fucking with you.
Eight. No.
You go back and look at how many times I actually fuck.
No.
I don't often.
I didn't. This is not true. You guys are lying.
I'm finding it.
No.
There we go. Found it immediately.
Like right now, I'm sitting here in my room and I just saw like a little bit of like white cat hair just fly by. He's everywhere. He is a part of the environment. No, I cannot believe it. I was joking. I was kidding. I didn't do it that. I have a brush. I used the brush. I held it in my hand. I used it like as we normally do. I didn't actually. I thought saying tongue condom would be funny. No. By the way, this is an R-rated show. Condom. Yeah. This is an R-rated show. I am a meow mama. Yeah. Oh no. Oh no. I'm so nervous right now.
It's called a licky.
No.
That cat friggin' loves it.
No.
I'm buying you one.
No, you're not.
I am.
Hi, J.A.
Iris would love to do this.
No, this is too close. This is too close. I already.
I'm sorry. Is this better?
When the cat comes up and wants to get really close to my face, I'm already just like uncomfortable.
A little bit too much.
I'm with you. I don't though. No, this is too close.
This is amazing. Do you know how close he would feel to the cat?
Does the Sins team do Secret Santa? Because this would be an amazing. You're not wrong, Sarah, because there's many people on this team that love cats.
I would have bought Jeremy one in every color. We need to have a Cinema Sins branded licky.
No, we don't. No. Oh my God. That cat is laughing its butt off. Yeah. Anyway.
It must feel amazing.
In real life, I took an actual brush. I brushed the cat. I got this massive pile of white cat floof. I did his tail and I got a massive pile of dark floof. And then I took a picture of it and realized that this doesn't show how big it is, like how much hair I've just gotten off this cat. So I took a banana for scale and I put it by the cat fuzz. I took a picture at the top of my trash can because it was like all resting on the top of my trash can. And I sent a picture to my neighbor, this beloved neighbor that I'm developing this great relationship with. She's so understanding. They're like, thank you so much for caring for our cat, The cat also straight up murdered a feathered something. I'm guessing it was a
friend.
I don't know if it was a robin. Oh my God. That cat looks like it needs to talk to a counselor.
I don't think the cat is happy, honestly.
Look at that cat. This isn't okay. Like, somebody make sure he's okay.
Help.
Yes, a bird, Cameron. I couldn't get. No.
Please. Help me.
Please send help.
Help
Human
me.
is doing something to me. Look at that.
What's going on?
Oh my God. They are laughing their butts off that they've got someone else to brush their cat. I mean, I love him coming over, but he has to stop. Like, the only way to make this stop is to just do it myself. I can't message my neighbors and say, hey, I need you to brush your cat. That's,
of course not.
That's super rude. I used to have a St. Bernard, and obviously she shed, and I would spend hours just brushing her coat out and researching all these different brushes to try. I tried so many brushes over the years, and I finally found one that really, really worked well. And I would just brush and brush and brush and brush, and and I just lived in dog hair. And she was a short-haired St. Bernard as well, so I kind of lucked out. Anyway, this is the first time I've had to have tons of hair because thankfully my two dogs, they just don't shed very much.
Mm-hmm.
So that happened. Yes, the cat straight up murdered and then I watched it hunt another bird. I don't know what kind of birds they are. They might be robins. We've got lots of birds around this area. And he brought a gift to the door. So when Iris and I went out for school a couple days ago, we step out and we look down and we're walking on this pile of feathers. There is nothing left of a bird. There's no midsection. There's no head. There's no feet. Nothing. It's just feathers. Just so many feathers. Oh man, cats don't. They lick themselves, but they won't brush themselves.
They do like they kind of they're not going to pull their own stuff out, but they do. They're pretty hygienic.
I mean, he's hygienic, but like the amount of coughing and hacking he would be doing is this episode level of coughing and hacking.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I think this is true actually. 3 brushings is the official position. Is 9/10 of the law. Taking legal ownership of it. That cat now owns you. To be fair,
he would have hairballs.
He has claimed your house.
He owns me. He comes in. He stands on the counter of the kitchen and meows at me until I get him fresh milk.
Yeah,
and I comply because he's adorable. I'm a sucker. One of the things that I'm recognizing though that I'm very thankful for, since having that last conversation with my neighbor, is she's just so sweet about everything. And we went back and forth. I texted her that Thunderstorm had brought Iris and I a gift. And we had found it on the way to school. Well, we had found parts of it on the way to school. Iris is processing what this means.
Remnants.
Like that the cat killed another creature. And then while going to school the next day, we watched Thunderstorm hunt another bird across the street. Straight up out of a movie, total wildlife situation, haunched down, sneaking behind stuff, peeking from around corners, totally low, butt wiggle, and then pounce. He missed, and I'm thankful because I did not want Iris to see that. Like, it's just maybe a little too early.
No, it's the circle of life.
Okay. Yesterday we deboned a rotisserie chicken. Iris comes into the kitchen. She's like, "What smells? What's that smell?" And I said, "That's a carcass. That's a cooked carcass."
Yummy chicken.
And she turns around and she's like, "What is that?" And so my friend and I are like, "That's a chicken." And she says, "Well, where's the head? You know, where's is that its front side? What is that? Oh, those are its toes." "No, honey, that's a bone. That is the end of a bone." And so she's just sitting there and she goes, "I have to leave. I have to leave." And then she stops and she says, "No, I kind of want to watch this." And she pulls up a chair and sits down and just watches us debone this thing. And she's watching all of this, the pieces appear.
That's just like all of like her future self and then her child self merged into one.
Yeah.
Like, this is gross. I want to keep chickens fluffy, but then morbidly, I want to see the bones.
I haven't told her, but I did say this is this is where chicken comes from. And
we were talking about Peppa Pig when I was cooking some bacon at one point.
Like looks up like she's thinking about it. Yeah. Right, Sci-Fi Brony? And it was a dramatic death.
Yeah,
it really was. It was a
gasping for its last breath.
On its side. It was
sacrificed to the rain gods.
It was bad. I cannot keep this cat in the house. He would be miserable, by the way. He would be a miserable cat.
Oh boy.
I have heard this. That they are lactose intolerant. I have heard this.
Yeah.
But whenever he goes over, and I'm not kidding, puts his paw on the milk and I pour a little bit out and he goes over and laps it up and he's so happy. I know that sometimes I'm lactose intolerant. Every once in a while I eat ice cream and yes, it's painful. But you know what? That's my choice. It's the cat's choice.
Sometimes it's worth it. Yeah, he's asking for it.
No, I've never done that. I've never broken a wishbone. I've never wished on a wishbone and broken it.
Wait, you've never broken a wishbone?
No.
And wished on it?
No. When that popped up in the cartoons growing up, I was very confused.
Yeah. She can't tell. Danae has rearranged her table arrangement and will now be nudging her mic all day.
It's so different. I don't know if I like it yet. Yes, adult cats should not drink milk. They love it, but it's not good for them. God damn it. Thank you for educating me about how I'm poisoning my neighbor's cat.
Don't do it.
Ugh. Okay.
Just give them oat milk. It's basically water. Might trick them into thinking they're having milk.
Thank you, Polly. I've never seen it either, but if I go downstairs, maybe I'll find a whole bunch of puke and diarrhea of bird parts because I'm pretty sure that's got to come out somehow, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, cats poop and stuff. Like, does the cat have a litter tray at your neighbor's house?
I mean, they do
Or it
have a
just goes
litter tray there.
outside?
They do have a litter box for their other cat, Ozzy, who is a Persian cat, who they have
Very
had to
precious.
shave all but his head and his little paws.
Oh, his
So
little
he's
boots.
just this little lion looking creature right
Oh.
now. But yeah, it gives them diarrhea. Great. Perfect.
Yeah.
I did resist a lot of temptation at the pet store this morning when I went for food because I saw a whole bunch of adorable little like animal bowls so I can get like a special little drinking cup for him, etc., etc. But instead I got like a little silly thing on a string that has feathers on it. So I did get him another toy.
Yeah.
Ugh, I got it bad for this cat. Oh, can I tell you the other thing I did before we start the show?
Mm-hmm.
I also wet down a washcloth. And I just, after I brushed him, I just wiped it all over his body to get the last little bits. Like he had a tongue bath, but not like what, not
like that.
from my,
Not like the picture.
Yeah.
Not from your person. Are you gonna?
Really is. What?
Are you gonna do it? Are you gonna buy one?
No.
Why not? I think it's adorable.
I would never ever do that.
just
That would be
just
the
turn up. And I'll be like.
As much money as I do waste and buy things and think I shouldn't have bought that. That's one that I don't even have to question. I would never use it. I would no.
It's a good point, Paulie. It's a good PSA.
Mm-hmm. Ambassador, lactase pills help with lactose intolerance.
Okay,
I've heard about these.
Count the pills. That's what you want to do. Slip him a couple of pills, and then he can have as much milk as he wants.
We do have a P.O. box, but I mean, you can do it, but I'm not going to use it. It would just be a waste of money and the postage with which to get to our P.O. box.
Never.
You can find our P.O. box information on our website, cinemasins.com.
Send it anyway. I have condensation.
Oh my
that's
gosh.
amazing.
What a little cheeky bugger.
Huskies are adorable.
I went on a date with someone. I suggested we get ice cream. They said yes. She took a few bites of the ice cream, then put a cover on it and said, by the way, I'm lactose intolerant. I get it.
It's just being polite, isn't it? Yeah.
It's like, yes, let's have ice cream. But also, I might be in a lot of pain later. The question is, would it be worth it to annoy the ambassador?
Well, the answer is always yes.
That's silliness. Send it to Ian and have him sneak it to her house. I mean, that's a big one. That's like, send it to England and then on the off chance he visits sometime in the near future,
I'll fly it back. Oh,
God damn it, David.
Have you checked? It's not David. Danae, have you checked the PO box recently?
No, I need to go there. Do you know how fucking busy I am? Maybe you should go check the PO box, Ian.
It would take me considerably longer to do it, but I will. I think I wasn't in town. No, that was for Slab's thing when I was last in town.
No, I do not need a dozen lickies.
You need 2 dozen lickies. You need them on your fingers as well.
Oh, there is nothing I am more happy about than this episode was not this.
It was not Darmok.
I am so excited to get into that.
Had it been Darmok, we would have been hearing this.
Star Trek, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Mm-hmm.
I have buttons.
Yes, Link, this could happen. When is Ian returning to the colonies?
At some point, I hope. Yep. I have to stay within the bounds of the Esther visa. So yeah, who knows? Who knows?
Oh my God.
Sometime, hopefully.
How crazy would it be? Like, we always hear the stories of sex toys being found in luggage. And that's like the big embarrassing thing. Imagine though,
grooming.
Just aggressive cat licking is what you get pulled aside for.
Please demonstrate how you use this. on you, sir.
Here's a drug dog.
Yeah.
Don't go near his face.
He's gonna love this. That's amazing.
So Link is referring to an event, just so that if those of you watching are not part of our Patreon Sin Club. We used to have a yearly fan event called Sin Week, which we have retired, but we are wanting to do a fan event still. And we were actually hoping to be able to do it in the spring, but due to a lot going on behind the scenes that y'all don't even know about, we just don't have the time to put something kind of really super fun together. So we decided to put it in the fall where we have some more time to plan. And this will be a digital only event. So to answer your question, he doesn't have to be here for the live event or for the digital event because it's all going to be online since we're not going to be gathering anywhere in person. We were hoping to maybe like find a conference that we could all kind of go to and be at together, but that's going to take a little bit more research and time to figure out. So this will be a digital event. And
Las Vegas. Let's do it. Let's just go there instead.
You guys want to? I mean, that's fans should meet up no matter what, and you can collectively decide where that is on Discord, by the way. But the fan event will be something that'll be digital, and you can join Patreon, which is patreon.com/cinemasins. And there's like a free tier where you can just try some stuff out. And you can also send in your suggestions for a fan event. Obviously, one of the things I want to do is just play Minecraft with my fellow comrades. Like, how fun would it be to just try to teach Chris how to play Minecraft? He'll be so mad.
I don't think he's dabbled in Minecraft.
The first time he gets blown up by a creeper, like,
oh yeah, it's so frustrating. That was my mistake when I was teaching you how to play. We went straight into a survival game and died on the first night, and you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. It's not fun.
Oh man, rent a place in Nashville, film a one-shot D&D, release it I mean, we've actually been talking about this for years. It is not that easy, but I'm hoping that we are getting closer and closer to our goals. Managing releasing, 5 days worth of content every week, plus 2 podcasts of content every week for our staff. We are just operating on all cylinders. So fingers crossed we can figure something like that out sometime soon. I hope so.
Show.
Balloon festival. Oh, fiesta. Not even a festival, a fiesta. That'd be so fun.
Do you sleep through
That's
it?
a siesta.
Oh, shit.
Thank you, Spanish lessons on Duolingo.
I'm the worst. There was Spanish in this episode. Oh,
there was let's get into it. Let's do
it. Jelly beans. Sorry.
Jelly beans.
I love jelly beans so much.
Do you have a picture of a jelly bean?
I do have a picture of a jelly bean.
Oh, that is a jelly bean. Look at
that jelly bean.
It's such a cool, what a cool thing.
It's so great. The more I look at it, the more I love it. I wish I could take credit for jelly beans, but that was a beautiful production of the internet. It's so good.
Yeah. Oh, you're on Duolingo? Fuck yeah, Sarah. Hold on. Let me tell you my username before we jump into the show. While I'm looking this up, thank you guys for joining us live. We are live on multiple platforms, including CinemaSins Podcast Network on YouTube. And then 2 channels on Twitch, my own personal channel, Danae Says, and then also, of course, the CinemaSins live channel. So, and we're also on X, aka Twitter. If you want to join other people chatting, usually people congregate on the YouTube and then also on the CinemaSins live Twitch channel. So you can hang out with your fellow sinful Trekkies there. And we're going to be going live in just a minute. We don't talk to the chat directly during the live taping of this particular portion of our podcast, but we will be back with you at the end of the show. We do pin your comments for later. Okay, let's see. What is my username? How do I find my username, Ian? Tell me all the answers.
I don't. Is it in the top right?
It's J Danae. JDENEE is my username.
Star Trek, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yes, we're live right now, of course.
But live.
Live. We don't talk to the chat. We steal from the chat.
We do.
I don't think I've done this live show thing. It's so bad. By the time this show ends, guys, I don't remember anything. In fact, last week I had several things I really had to do for work. I left this show, went and took like a 15-minute power nap, and then just floated around in my universe as if I had nothing to do for the rest of the day. Just like, and then all of a sudden I'm like, holy shit, I forgot to do these
So many
very
things.
important things. God damn it.
God damn it.
So
Okay.
yeah, this is my little guy.
Oh, look at those eyeballs.
Yeah. You guys want to see my streak?
Nope.
Sure you do.
The chat probably does.
Today will be day 231.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm pretty proud of that.
Getting up to a year.
Yeah, my goal is to practice every day for a year. Now, of course, the streaks, it's not actually every day. I'm missing off and on here and there, but it's amazing. Which language are you?
122.
Which language are you practicing?
English.
French. Wow.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Oh, you must have loved the outtakes last week then. Oh, Polly Pompadour, voulez-vous Pompadour croissant?
Oh my gosh.
My French was amazing.
We're about to get demonetized, Ian. Woo!
Yeah.
Woo! And now
We're
you're
well
getting the French.
overdue.
How is
Well
your
overdue.
Spanish, Ian?
Donde está? No, wait. Dos cervezas, por favor.
Dos cervezas. Two
Cervezas. Cervezas.
two surveys, please.
Cervezas. Beer. 2 beers, please.
That's all you know? Is that
Dos
or
cervezas,
alcohol?
all I needed when I went on holiday.
Bye, Phil. Thanks for hanging out with us.
2 beers, please.
Oh my God.
Yeah, los tienes donde
¿Tienes?
la biblioteca. ¿Dónde es la biblioteca? Baño.
I mean, it isn't a bad place to start. You're right.
Especially if you're angry, if you're not confident with speaking another language. Right, should we get into the show?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's beam over to the show. I finally brought the sound effects with me. It's only taken 3 years.
Ooh.
Welcome to 10 Forward, the part of the show where we grab a drink from the replicator and share our immediate thoughts and feelings on the episode we just watched together. Most important question first. What is your thing of choice from the Matter Replication Station?
Well, I think we know now we can safely drink what's in the vial.
Yeah, distilled water, I think. Yeah. Wait, can you drink distilled water? I thought you... Can you?
Why wouldn't you?
No, I'm thinking of ionized water. The stuff that you put in, like, your iron. Like,
I mean,
there's different water when you do ironing.
ironing?
I don't know. Yeah,
Ironing water?
an iron. Yeah, like an ironing board. And then
Yeah.
you iron your shirts.
Yeah.
And then you put water in the iron for like the gas spray thing that comes out.
I just listen,
Wear your clothes. Yeah.
I wear my clothes. I haven't ironed anything in a long time. Like when I recently had to use the iron, it was so covered in dust. We had to clean the ironing board before.
Just went up in flames.
But I don't think that I've ever heard of somebody using a specific type of water to iron. I've only ever just put tap water into my iron.
It's like ionized or iodized. It's something. There's a special ironing water that you buy to. But anyway, that doesn't matter. We're both having distilled water from the replicator. Give us a synopsis, Danae.
Well, let me just be clear. I want to mix mine with the sacrificial tears, just for a little salt, just a little hint of salt.
Yeah.
So.
Oh.
You
Wait,
know?
but so not the sweat. So the tears. So
specifically the sacrificial tears of a young girl who's realizing that she's about to die and using her last breath to sing a song. And I guess that'll launch us into the synopsis for today.
So the song. Why aren't you whistling? Why didn't you whistle why have we got humming in an episode called Whistlespeak?
That's what I'm saying. I guess we're skipping straight to the sins. Yeah.
Sins. Gosh, dang it.
In today's episode, we answer the question why you shouldn't take drugs before running a marathon.
Right. However, you will really appreciate the water afterwards.
You're gonna spill it everywhere. You're going to
gonna
listen to the
drown
director
yourself.
say, make sure that everyone watching knows that there's actually water in this bowl.
Yeah. Just spill half the contents all over the place. Why was that so distracting? Because I had
It
to
was
say
so
no.
distracting.
Stop spilling the precious water of life.
In today's episode, we do uncover another clue, this time taking us to a planet where a race of aliens long ago interjected technology to assist them in surviving a planet that was similar to their own. And those old technologies are failing, and the progression of the civilization has decided to worship the rain as if it is controlled by a god. And so it had evolved, if evolving is the right word here, to include that you have
Not
to
how Darwin
sacrifice someone in order for the rain to come. And so the arrival of the Discovery is going to support that theory on accident while also breaking the Prime Directive, but they're probably going to get okay because it was technically already broken because of the people that were previously there, but that's going to be thinking about the future. But anyway,
Yeah.
people almost die. And then we break apart their brains and tell them that God doesn't exist in so many words or less. While no. That was actually a really interesting part, and I can't wait to talk about that part. But basically, this episode is the revelation that obviously with great power comes great responsibility, and that crisis of faith and evolution of thinking about our purpose in everything is also something that we shouldn't hold on to so tight that that we'll break. I thought that was kind of a cool theme, and that's my synopsis. Yeah,
some really cool themes this week, and some parallels for once between what's happening on the ship and what's happening on the planet. Now, an amount of trepidation going in after a shaky episode last week, and the looming fear of communication and Darmok. But
I was so afraid.
Did you have a good time this week? Or your overall thoughts and feelings before we get into specifics?
Yeah, I thought this episode did a pretty good job of not telegraphing too much, but then also telegraphing it just enough at the right time that I was like, this is going to go.
There's a sacrifice coming.
This is them running up a mountain to jump into lava kind of a situation. I think it did what it wanted to do pretty well. And the juxtaposition on this one is back to the ship again. So we're looking at the whole crew again in a way and kind of seeing how everybody is coming together. I'm a little bit disappointed that Raynor's not taking more of a central role, but at the same time, I'm letting go that I think I'm very wrong about their intention with this character. And I had a pretty good time. Yeah, I don't think I actually did a time check on this one time, which is usually a good sign for me.
I think this teaches us a very valuable lesson, which is to always go through life with your expectations at rock bottom. Expect nothing and everything seems better. I had a really good time with this episode. This really felt like I know we made the Darmok comparison before we'd seen anything, but I couldn't help feeling that this was a very classic Trek TNG, even Voyager-esque style of episode. I could really see the crew of Voyager stumbling upon this planet, doing the stuff with the towers, and there's some other mystery at the tower. It wouldn't be, obviously, this ongoing mystery. But it felt so true to what I love and adore about Star Trek.
Interesting.
I think this did it really well. It did, if there's not kind of like brought it down some notches, is that it has every single civilization believes in religion, cliche, sacrifice, prime directive thing going. I don't know that there's an original thought in this episode, but it executes its unoriginal thoughts excellently. Would be like my one sentence review.
That's really interesting because it does seem to be doing a common sort of theme where you go to a planet, they're doing stuff that you don't want them to do. You want to help, but then what are the moral quandaries of the situation? And that's an interesting space to be in, not literally space, but like an interesting position with which to tell your story. The story of this episode did centralize on the main idea of getting to the weapon. But it did have a lot of like the normal tropes. We can't beam in, we can't do this, and sometimes that gets a little bit distracting. And so there's a lot of the Star Trek cliche sin kind of feels. But You have to get used to that. That's just how every episode seems to go. Because if they were operating at their full capacity, it would be like playing chess against a computer or something like that.
Every single answer to the problem is transporters and replicators.
Yeah.
Game
100%.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I had a really good time with it. Give us some of your highlights of the episode. Did like I mentioned, did this feel like your TNG memories to you as well?
yeah, it definitely had a TNG-esque vibe to it. Maybe that's part of the reason that I was kind of like clipping along with it. Okay. I do have a question because I feel like I'm missing something. There seems to be a theme with Tilly on this one that I think I'm missing a backstory or something about her character. So my question before I kind of go into it is, so in this episode, Tilly is sort of going alongside a young girl from this tribe of people. And this young girl is very enthusiastic about, doing something dangerous. And then eventually revealing not only just dangerous, but like knowing that they could die and being excited about dying for the greater good of their community. And she seems to be paralleling it with something in her past. Like, did someone die that she gave advice to? Did that happen in her story? Because I feel like it's telegraphing that. I don't know.
Man, I don't. Not that I can remember. So Tilly, in a few sentences, Tilly's arc was she was a cadet on Discovery, very, very shy, very, very like a genius and absolutely brilliant, but very, very shy with it. She kind of opens up a bit when she's forced to take on the role of her dictator counterpart in the mirror universe. She gets a lot of confidence from that. Kind of disappears a little bit in season 3. And then in season 3 and 4, she's teaching at the academy. She leaves Discovery entirely to go and teach her cadets at the newly reformed Starfleet Academy. So she might be talking about, I think she's referring to giving advice to her cadets. And a lot of these cadets are dropping out and leaving because Starfleet, we've heard occasional lines where Starfleet is hesitant to graduate these cadets and put them out in the field because they're scared that they're not ready and they're not prepared yet. So some of them are dropping out and pursuing other fields, much like Mariner threatens to do, instead of sticking with Tilly. And Tilly is kind of in this moment of crisis where she's like, am I a bad teacher? Like, am I not doing a good job with these cadets?
Okay.
What can I do better?
Okay. Then I think that I'm on board with the episode even more because I picked up on that element within the episode itself. So I feel like they're doing a good job of kind of encapsulating the most important pieces within the episode, like talking directly to the person like me who doesn't have all of the backstory.
Yeah.
But I could tell she was struggling with that, and maybe that needed to be outlined a little bit more somehow. But at the same time, I'm glad that they didn't go too deeply into it because it might not be something that she can resolve. I did like that they opened the door for Michael to kind of potentially go to Starfleet and start helping too, because it seemed like Michael, she had a lot of history and passion for why Tilly and the captain were going down to the planet. And before I go on, the chat pointed out, rightfully so, that the character, the daughter that is trying to sacrifice themselves identifies as a they or them. And yes. I heard Michael say that, but I wasn't sure if if Michael was doing a non-assuming in that moment. And I like that the episode didn't make it so obvious that they were like making a point about it.
Yeah, it's almost great that we didn't notice. Yeah. It's really just like the dad that says it more than anybody else. And I think Dr. Kolber comes in at the end and says it's really cool.
I like that I didn't even pick up on it enough that it was they didn't emphasize too much on that. And I know that Michael was also referencing that they had done research on the planet and that there were multiple identities, but at that debrief moment, I was so confused about whether we were talking about this planet or the aliens' planet history, and it was very convoluted. They were just popping. So I didn't really know that was part of the debrief of where they were going. So, but anyways, my favorite parts, which was your question, like kind of my highlights, probably what stands out to me the most was that a thought that I had, which just means that the show I think was doing a good job, that this episode is simultaneously breaking down this scientific doctor and that's earth shattering, and then also breaking a civilization at the same time.
Yeah, I really liked that.
And Michael has a couple of really great lines, which I tried to write down as fast as I possibly could.
Mm-hmm.
The father figure says, perhaps devotion means to hear when gods tell us something new. I thought that was really good. And then Michael is... What does... I don't know. Maybe I didn't write it down.
The bit where she said, just because you know about us doesn't mean the gods aren't there as well. Like, our existence doesn't get rid of your gods.
Yeah, beliefs can evolve. Denying that can be bad. Like,
yeah,
you can evolve through your beliefs and not. And by denying evolution of your faith or of your religion or of what your society is doing, like by denying that, you can actually hurt each other. But that conversation about breaking that particular thought pattern, I think that was my favorite part, because I thought that they did a great job of being gentle about it in a way.
Yeah, not being condescending. Like, the existence of technology and the fact that we've explained the origin of this summit and we've explained that you don't have to do the sacrifice, that doesn't mean your other rituals aren't valid and what you believe to be a god isn't there as well. Like, the Bajorans are a great example of this, because when I was a lot younger, it bugged me that the Bajorans were so like heavily into religion when they were surrounded by spaceships and replicators and holodecks, but their gods were literal aliens that live in the wormhole. So it's just about what your definition of a god is. So the Denobulans basically are gods to these people, and everything that their religion is founded on could be based around what the Denobulans gave them. Kind of why we have the Prime Directive and we don't interfere with people. But it's all about interpretation. I think it's really bold of a science-forward show to also say there are beliefs beyond this that are totally valid and don't discredit. Our technology doesn't discredit your belief system as well. It's really cool.
There's a line that Captain says, nothing we have shown you removes that.
Yes, exactly.
There is just an also us. And I'm not going to get too deep into my own personal experiences with how this impacts me directly, but it's just such a nice theme to see being pressed on, and maybe to some it's heavy-handed because this episode's really breaking apart of society. It's breaking into a scientific mind of this doctor character who had the Trill experience. The idea that we can have also and be okay, that someone else's belief system doesn't mean that your belief system is completely eradicated. Like, it's such a tricky conversation to have. And I think when we try to have it on a massive scale, like making absolutes, it doesn't always do good. And I didn't feel like this episode was trying to do that. I think they were just speaking to this moment, but then also it's just this theme, because I know so many different types of people, and I don't ever want to think that their particular way of looking at things is just absolutely wrong. I see it as an also, like, oh, that's an interesting perspective. Like, if they want to get combative about it, then I usually take a big step back from wanting to develop a deeper, meaningful relationship with them, because intolerance is really difficult for me. But that is another sort of interesting moment where they made this poor father make, like, this poor guy.
Oh my goodness.
And she's, Michael's begging him, saying, the rain is coming whether she dies or not.
Yeah.
Believe me. Believe in technology. And there's just a lot to dig into in those deeper themes of this episode. And it seems like they didn't spend too much time on it either. It was just kind of at the end where it was all hitting on all cylinders. So that was my standout. The rest of it's interesting. I thought where we went, this planet with this like sort of miniature redwood forest-esque kind of biome was really beautiful.
It's a really cool idea.
I loved the language of the locals
The
and
whistling
the
was
kind of
great.
cadence, but that took such a back seat for me, didn't it? Like,
It's so strange. Like, they introduced this language, and I'm like, oh, that's beautiful. It's like the Comet language, the singing that we talked about in Strange New Worlds. It's really, really interesting. And it disappears. And I'm like, why did we call this episode Whistlespeak?
yeah.
It should be called like Summit or something like that. But
yeah,
they did a great job with the whistles. I do kind of like that they did the opposite of Darmok, whereas they're just like, everything is metaphor. And we're constantly like, how do you build a starship out of metaphors? They, for this species, were like, no, the whistles are just used in certain ways and across long distances and in certain occasions. They still have a phonetic, usual alphabet and language to speak with day to day. It's kind of a fuck you to Darmok in some ways.
Maybe so. Yeah, the Whistlespeak was confusing. I mean, I got it, and I liked it at the very beginning. My first thought was like, oh, here we are in Hunger Games. And it had that kind of like musical sort of quality. There was clearly a language in it because the universal translator was picking up what they were saying, and they didn't spend a ton of time on it, and maybe that's for a purpose, but there was this quick moment where they built so much history of this group of people in such a short scene that I thought worked really well. This back and forth of these kind of like places that they're coming from, and this elder woman, for example, who had a whole bunch of dust in her lungs, and how she had to do her dusting, which they didn't hyper explain, but we all know that she had to get the dust off the crop or they're going to die. Like, we all know. And I love it when a writer will allow the audience to fill in these blanks of detail. And it's what you get when you read. When you read a book and your imagination fills in the blanks, and then they trust the audience to kind of go along with it, give just enough that you can kind of picture it. And I thought that worked really well for this society.
Yeah, instead of giving us a massive exposition dump from the computer archives, we get to fill in the blanks through specific examples. So they tell us about the journey, the marathon. She tells us about the dusting that she had to do, how valuable rain is. And through those specific examples, we fill in the gaps and build out this image of what this species is. And it's so frustrating because it's such efficient storytelling compared to the kind of long-winded, more clumsy isn't fair, but the more long-winded, dragged out story that we had last week when we're doing a lot of dump about the Breen and Locke and Mole. And it's like, you can do it, so why didn't you do it? It's so interesting how two episodes can be tackling similar things and execute it completely differently, and the difference that makes. I think that's why I liked this week so much.
I also liked the idea of this alien species like seeding rain. That was really fun for me too.
The Denobulans, yeah.
And that the Denobulans did this thing, and then I don't remember any of the creatures. Like, okay, so the civilization that we're interacting with, the Whistlers.
I can't remember the name either.
The Whistlespeakers.
Whistlespeakers.
I'm sure Helemno?
Yeah,
Helemno? I'm looking at my notes here.
Helena Bottom can't I think.
The thought about how would these people see this technology and evolve to interact with it, it was perceivable to me to have this like old generations passed down. Okay, maybe only one priest can go into this room and pull this lever, which was obviously very technological. So I believed the father making the leap to technology, because underneath his simple rug was a very complicated piece of technology he had to like lift up and move. So there's a lot of technology happening around. There's moving pieces to all of the windows, so he's he's privy to seeing this, and we know that it's a very private space that no one can really go into because they set the scene when Tilly and Michael arrive and begin to speak to them, and there's just that brief exchange of like, oh honey, you don't know that no one can go there, and oh no, I came from far away.
I came from the east.
And then this just sort of slow development, not slow in a bad way, but this paced development of the towers having fallen, and that's why there's fewer people here. I just thought that the delivery of information worked for me. So
Yeah,
I really found myself
really
liking
done
this episode.
Yeah, there's another element that I really liked that hasn't worked so well for me in previous episodes, but I think works really well in this episode, and that's some of the inter-character playing and conversations that we get this week, mainly Tilly and Burnham. So, and I'm really, really grateful for this because Tilly and Burnham have been, or they were, extremely close in season 1 and season 2. They were bunkmates in season 1, which is when we had the time travel episode a couple of weeks back. Burnham said you were worried that the mutineer me was going to kill you in your sleep or something.
Oh yeah.
I didn't. So Tilly was the first person to really welcome Burnham to the ship and say, cool, you're a mutineer, we're going to be friends. And they would go jogging together through the ship.
Oh, really?
Right? And Tilly was never able to keep up. Tilly struggled. She was like, cardio isn't my thing. I can't jog. And now they're doing this jogging on the planet. Burnham is the one that can't keep up. Tilly is the one that's been learning her cardio and keeping going and carry. It was
and
so
Tilly like
freaking clever.
Tilly paced around her.
Together. Yes, which is what Burnham did in season 1.
Really?
Did like a little jog around her through the corridors of the ship.
Oh
I
my
loved
god.
it. It's such a cool. That's how you do callbacks. That's perfect. That's such an incredible payoff to season 1. And it makes me think, did they know that this was the last season? Because
maybe it was the right
time to pay
time.
off that relationship. Just the perfect time to do that. It shows growth. It respects their relationship. I loved that moment so much. That's when I tipped over into, oh, this is a good episode. This is doing some stuff. So yeah,
I'm glad
satisfying.
Once again that you know the things that you know, because I would have never been able to like touch the heartbeat of that scene. The one that really got me and showed me more of Tilly's like vim and Vic, like her, like, I don't know, her spunk was when she and Rava, I think is their name, the child of the father
child.
Was starting to kind of, Rava comes back when Tilly starts to sort of tip, like maybe fall over and pass out, and Rava comes back and says something along the lines of, I thought you were, you can't give up because I need to have some competition.
Yeah.
And Tilly says like, what? How does Tilly say it?
You're a little shit, aren't you?
You're a little shit. Yeah.
You're a little shit. You know that? It's so great.
It was so funny.
That's Tilly all over. Like one of the first times where she overcomes her kind of like shyness. It's in front. I don't know if it's on the bridge or in engineering, but she explodes and says something along the lines of "Science, fuck yeah!" And it was the first F-bomb in Star Trek. Everyone looks at her. Burnham smiles, and that's very much Tilly. She just explodes with this, like, just in the moment stuff. You are very much a Tilly.
I love it. I've got Tilly energy. And then Rava just immediately volleys back. I can't hear you because I'm already ahead.
Yeah, I'm too far ahead. Yeah.
And it was just a few lines that just show about Rava and about Tilly, that they are pushing each other along. And so to hear you say that Michael has been that with Tilly in the past to kind of 100%. Like move each other along, it makes that scene, even more.
It makes the fact that this is a race just it's so fitting. It's such a clever way to slip that in. And then at the same time, what we have on the ship, the crux of that is Dr. Kolber still wrestling with his experience from Trill, and pairing that with Book, I really liked. And I can't exactly put my finger on why. It's just
I know why.
When we get to the like heavy feeling stuff, sometimes it can feel inauthentic.
Yeah.
This felt really, really authentic. Like the cadence of their conversation, how they were relating to each other. And I think it's because these are two people that don't usually interact. This for me would kind of be like maybe what's a good example from TNG? Maybe like when Guinan and Worf interact. It's not a pairing
Oh,
you often see.
interesting.
So when they are paired up and talking about something, I really pay attention. So I think
Right.
a lot of it is in the pairings. Like I've seen Dr. Kolber and Paul Stamets, the engineer, the husbands, talk a lot. And they usually end up in the same place. So having them share a problem with someone different, I think that's why it worked better for me.
Well, I think there's two reasons why it happened. Number one, they needed Booker's memory of Michael's time having a trill inside of her to kind of connect, maybe? Did that happen? Did Michael have a trill in her?
No, I don't.
Was she
think
trilly?
So no.
Okay. I think the idea was that Michael went from loneliness, which was comfortable, to like welcoming another person, and that was a big jarring thing, and Michael had some insight. So I think from a writing perspective, that was needed for the Doctor's character to grow. But then also I think the reason that you really liked it is because Booker wasn't talking to Michael about it.
I think that's it. Michael and Book weren't talking. I think that's why I liked it so much.
Yeah. Thank you, writers.
Book is more than Michael. And this is one of my big things with relationship drama stuff in movies, in TV shows, a lot. There is so much of I am defined by the pursuit of this person and the person that I'm with, and not enough about finding your own person and your own just that comfort of being yourself as an individual. And they mentioned that in the I think Book mentions it to Dr. Kolber, how he says sometimes when something is just for us, it feels less valuable. And it's important to not devalue things just because they are ours and they belong to us. So there was just lots of actually unique stuff that I don't see TV shows hitting on a lot being hit on in this episode.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What else did we like about this episode?
What did we get into? I guess the mystery is the next thing, the clue. But we're talking about things we like, and that's not something that I liked in this episode. The development of the mystery and the next step of the clue. That for me, once again, isn't working. I always go back to this question. I've got it in big writing. What would a bad guy do with this mystery? Because the point of leaving these clues is as a test. They've said this over and over again. There's a test and there's a lesson to be learned. Go on. There's a test and there's a lesson to be learned from the clue. But I'm still thinking if a bad guy, like an evil Romulan or the Borg or somebody comes along, what they're doing is killing everybody on the planet, breaking into the tower, and trying to work it out that way. And maybe they would match the symbol from the vial on the wall. So a lesson isn't being taught with this. They're just lucky Discovery is finding it. And
it seems like an assumption lesson like they did on the last one. Okay, I missed something. How did they get the clue? Where was the clue? I don't know if I just like looked away and took a sip of water and that went by so fast. I know we ended the episode where she's glancing at the now fuller cylinder thing that collects all the clues.
So
how did they get the clue?
In the sacrificial chamber, the child sacrifice looked at the wall and there was 4 symbols, 1, 2, 3,
correct.
4, 5.
And the one on the vial was like a 3 or something.
Yeah, the symbol for number 5 was the same scratch that was on the vial. They assumed it was damage.
I saw that part.
So they went to the 5th tower because they were in the 3rd tower. They went to the 5th one and it was in there.
Okay. But we didn't see that part?
We didn't see that part, no.
Okay. So it was just an assumption happening in the back.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, that's a little sinful for me. But it's an interesting take, I suppose, that I guess I assumed that to seed the towers that no longer worked, they would need to have the vial. As if the aliens of the past knew that eventually would break down. So like, you know what, we're going to give them the power to do this themselves and see what they do with it. I don't know. It's a little bit loose. It's a little bit loose for me as to how they unlock this.
Mm-hmm.
anyone, like you said, bad guy would just go to that tower and break in, grab it, and go. There's no lesson learned. There's nothing. It's just I go get the
my
thing.
biggest problem and they keep reinforcing this because at the end of the episode, I think it's Tilly or Burnham. I think it's Tilly asks, "So what was the lesson here? What was the message that we were trying to be learned?" I was like, if you've got the piece and it's not clear what the lesson was, it's not a great puzzle. Your job hasn't really succeeded. It should be really, really clear if that's the intent. And it seems at odds with why they hid these puzzle pieces. They hid them to make sure that the wrong person didn't get hold of it, the wrong species didn't get it, or we didn't get hold of this technology until we're ready to use it. And this puzzle, unless something dramatic happens at the end that upends everything we've seen so far, this puzzle isn't doing that.
No, this particular, so like in one of them they're protected by a sentinel, and the other one they're protected by the predator locusts. But in this one, let's just say that whoever has the clue isn't playing a deadly seek and find game with an enemy with lock and maul.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They have all the time in the world. Let's just say they would eventually find the tower and figure it out. Whether they know the numbers exist or not, they're going to eventually figure it out. So that's a little bit loose for me, but I do agree that it is a positive thing that we're moving forward, and that the whole mystery thing is coming together.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that anyone watching Discovery is going to question that our particular group of people have enough ethical, moral, spiritual, scientific, like a conglomerative mind to sort of use a power or destroy a power. I'm assuming they're going to be trying to destroy it, to keep it safe, because the scientists before didn't want to destroy it. They wanted to create like a little puzzle piece to it or something, which is, it's a storytelling trope, and I understand why they're doing it. Like, so I don't think that the tension here is very deep, because we don't believe that our crew is going to struggle with using this power for good or destroying it. The real issue is sin. Yeah, the issue is who's going to get to it first. And also, I guess, is Starfleet bad? Like, would this Red Directive and the Infinity Room guy who uses a legal pad, is he going to misuse it? Because I would believe that in a heartbeat.
Kovic would 100%. We haven't seen Kovic's shady side yet in this season.
If you're willing to use ancient paper to write a simple list, you are an asshole. Like, that is a relic of history. How dare you just use paper? This would be like us coming across some sort of like papyrus from biblical times and writing a fucking grocery list down. Apples, banana, bread.
Oh, it'll be apples, because he's an asshole. Yeah, it'll be apples. Yeah. I think he actually was sneakily implying time travel. I think when she was like, "How did you get hold of this?" and he's like, "I'm resourceful." I think it's no big deal, because he's a time traveling son of a bitch, and he's just like, "I'll just pop back to the 2100 to our century, to the 21st century, head over to Staples and get a couple more legal pads."
Yeah, not a big deal. It exists in mass. I also want to say, how did you feel about this, like the technology that they're using on this planet? With the bowls, how did you feel about that resolving the cough?
Oh man,
did you think it was simple or interesting? I thought it was really interesting.
I would rather dig into that than. Oh man, I don't know what I would take out of the episode. It was really interesting. It was confusing. I didn't understand how it worked. I was kind of sinning the fact that we have those fucking bowls, and like our hippie people do like the bowl spinning and the resonant stuff. But they kind of turned it on its head from where my gut instinct is going to be, oh, this is a kooky ritual, into, oh, there's some science behind this and there's some technology behind it. So, yeah, I thought it was fascinating. I kind of wanted to know a little bit more about it.
I think it was vibration. The vibration shaking up So, because I'm a massage therapist, what she was doing is called like tapotement, which is a way of breaking up something in the lungs. So if this elder person has a whole bunch of stuff in her lungs and it's kind of congealing or whatever, it's going to break it up so she can kind of cough it out.
Yeah.
And then you bring the bowls in, and I thought, oh my gosh, Like, what if it's just the vibration, like breaking up the sand in her, and then she starts to cough and it starts to come out. And I thought that was an interesting sort of way of showcasing some potential element of what they were going for. I thought it was like a little interesting thing. And it might be as I reflect back on the episode, one of the last kind of highlights that we maybe haven't talked about. Oh, besides Book using an actual shuttle to play a video game. I liked that too.
Asteroids. He was using the shuttle to play asteroids. I loved it so much. Yeah, it kind of was like, we have some like lots of kooky medicine on the planet, and there's like a lot of interesting beliefs around like vibrations and using like magnets and shit to do things. What I liked about this is that it was, what if there was science behind that and propelling it? Like, what would be the scientific application if this worked? And it's clear that something is happening here, and that maybe it's the magnetic poles on that planet that are different and allow it to work. So I thought it played on a stereotype that I wasn't expecting. So yeah, I thought that was really interesting. I actually would like to go back to this planet and explore it a bit more.
I would now.
Yeah.
Now that I know it's going to rain.
Oh, now it's going to rain and there's no sacrifices.
And that there's no leaking radiation causing moss to change color. I'd go here.
Yeah, absolutely. If everybody should have been getting sick from the radiation, that would have been super dark.
If they were all like
that was
eating
causing
the
sickness.
mushrooms. Yeah. Like, what if they ate moss?
Goodness.
And they were just
the moisture. I think the last element I want to touch on is it was very obvious as me and you were watching the episode when the dominoes were kind of falling. Like, we very, very quickly were like, oh, they're dead.
We're dying.
There's going to be a sacrifice at the end of this. Like, it's really interesting how play by numbers this festival of joy thing, and everyone's happy, and then suddenly it turns super duper dark into this sacrifice, as if nobody realized that sacrificing people was a bad thing until it comes to the very end. Other than the dad, he knows, and it's just like, I'm actually impressed that it didn't take the episode down more notches for me. How did it hit you? Because obviously we've seen this before.
I mean, I think that it plays on what we know historically has happened, which is when you're trying to understand the celestialness of our world, like, you're looking to the stars, you're looking to the sun. We just had the solar eclipse again. Can you imagine back whenever they were erecting like rocks to try to make sense of their life, and they're like, just go until you can see the stones, then you'll find us again. And that's how you communicated. And then all of a sudden the sun goes away, and somebody did one weird thing, and they fell down and broke their neck, and the sun comes back. And so everyone thinks, oh, well, I guess we have to kill somebody, because that's how the sun comes back. So
I'm having this great image of they've just finished Stonehenge, and just by coincidence, an eclipse happens, and they're like, fuck, we did the eclipse. So,
I mean, to me, it's like I said earlier, it's not a big leap in logic to think that this society would do something like that. And I was back and forth on it for a little while too, because they get back and everyone's celebrating and they're drinking water. I actually said to you, well, I guess we're stoning them now. No, okay, we're not stoning them now. It took a minute to be like, yep, I'm in a room and I can't get out. And it's like, oh, yep, here we go. I also thought it was interesting that it wasn't the society killing them, but that it was like Hunger Games style.
Yeah, the natural, just the makeup of that room was doing it.
Yes, the technology was going to kill them because that's what was going to be seeding the rain.
Yeah.
And I think the symbolism is pretty on the nose there. And what also just sometimes things happen that are mysterious and magical and mystical, and we try to make sense of them. And sometimes the more we do that, and the more we build around that as being the answer to the problem, the more trouble we find ourselves getting into.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't mind that was part of this episode.
It's tough for us to wait for science to do its thing, because sadly science doesn't care about our patience. So in order to get behind why something is actually happening, you need a bit of patience, and that's frustrating, and it might take longer than your lifetime to figure it out. So you fill the gaps with whatever is either comfortable or whatever's been told to you by your ancestors. But There we go. I just a couple of little things I wanted to touch on. I love the light show at the beginning of the
Oh
episode where
yeah,
they're
I did
doing the
too.
the biometric scan of the liquid. I was like, oh, this
It
is
was really
cool. I don't
pretty.
know if it's necessary, but it's
Well, it was
very
pretty.
cool. It's
Yeah,
very
we had
pretty.
like close-ups of faces and then sort of
Yeah,
just this spectrum of colors sort of as the
very well
different
directed.
scanners. Yeah, and it
Yeah,
kind of looked
really
really
zoned me
neat.
in.
I thought that looked cool.
Yeah, I really liked that. I love the therapy droid, the hologram
Oh
thing.
my gosh, yes.
That was so
Ooh.
fun.
How did you feel about that? Like
Oh, it
if I,
seems logical to me, if not terrifying.
it is terrifying. Like, bringing back a dead member of your family to be your therapist.
I mean, I don't know if there is therapeutic science behind that. That feels quite traumatizing to me and perhaps unhealthy. But I think it
Yeah.
depends on your relationship to that relative. So his abuela, obviously, maybe she passed away very naturally, and he was just completely fine with her passing and is able to access her in a healthy way.
I think the idea is that there's this technology that's being developed that will access your memories and find a person that you can talk to,
I think that's the idea.
whether it's
Yeah,
your family
correct.
member or not.
Yeah.
But the idea of coming face to face with somebody who is dead and trying to work through trauma while also being reminded about why you loved this person, while also being reminded that they're not real.
It's a lot.
It would, like how many people would just bring back a dead pet to just hold, like, and just sob?
Why wouldn't you? So we're also in a world where holodecks exist. So I'm reminded of Wesley, who lost his dad. When Wesley turned 18 or something like that, his dad left a holographic message for him. So Wesley goes to the holodeck and is face to face with a holographic version of his dad, and it's an interactive program where they can have certain conversations. Like, they live in a world where that is already happening. Like, they are already able to bring back whoever they want. So maybe there's already ways that they've dealt with that, and
I mean, but
they're used to it. It's not a new thing.
But there's a difference between me recording something and then giving someone a choice on whether or not they want to watch it in the future versus using a computer program to alter someone that I trust to tell me historically accurate information that will amplify their advice. Because that's the idea here, is that Abuela's advice will ring true to the receiver because it's so authentically Abuela.
But it's
I
completely agree with you, because
that's the idea.
But it's our perception.
Exactly.
It's not that person. It's our perception and our biases of who they were. So I don't know the practicality of how this would work, but it is fascinating.
Here's what it does: is it hits on the idea that there is someone, the storytelling idea that there's someone that knows you very, very well, and listening to them talk is very powerful. And what this episode did it's very creepy. I personally think this is terrifying because he actually stops his abuela from talking to correct how she would have given advice, meaning that he is hacking his own brain to receive whatever truth this computer program is going to spit out through a filter of his abuela. So he's micro correcting his own counselor to give him what he wants.
Yeah.
And this is the part that I don't know that they're trying to dig into here, but this character is really struggling with whatever revelation he is having. He scans his brain. He doesn't have any physical problems. And he's trying to work out how this change of his personality makes any kind of scientific sense.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of thing that'll turn him into a cuckoo bananas person. And if they don't turn him into like one of those doctors that just goes nuts, then I don't know what they're trying to do right now with the details they're sharing, because him hijacking a counselor isn't really telling me that he's healthy. You know what I mean?
Well, what's interesting is that he does try to hijack her and say she should know this answer. There must be an issue. And I think the episode kind of deals with it because she replies saying, "No, I am dealing with it. Like my answer would be because I'm a person of science." It would be to push you to finding a scientific answer. So there's no
Yeah,
problem with the program.
but no, but he had already told the computer like that's wrong. And so I mean, maybe you're right. I can't say no. I'll say this. My interpretation was that he stopped the computer. He said, that's not how that would go. And then she continues on. I thought after the program shifted her into a direction that would get her there.
No, my interpretation was that the computer didn't have a chance to change anything. The hologram cut him off and said, but this is the advice I would give you. Like, don't go changing anything. I would be pushing you towards a scientific. I wouldn't be able to give you spiritual advice because I was a person of science.
Yeah, I guess you can interpret that either way, but he was still saying, no matter what, he was still saying, she wouldn't say that. We got to fix this. This is the thing. We as humans are going to make people into these images and put them onto pillars and want them to be specific things. And so he's tweaking with something that likens to the idea of if you had a hologram with which you could manipulate, how would you make it into your perfect interpretation? So you talked about Jordy doing this with the girlfriend, and people have done this throughout the storytelling many, many times. And how would you tweak a vacation location so that it hits that dopamine for you? So it's not.
This is what I mean, though, because with holodecks, I think by this point, we might be numb to it because they've been able to do that for hundreds of years. But Culber wouldn't have done, though. This would all be new to Culber because they didn't have holodecks in his original timeline.
Interesting.
So yeah, good point.
I don't know. It's a really fascinating thing. I'm glad you brought it up because I love that they were speaking Spanish. It asks a
lot of questions.
It does. I love that they were speaking Spanish. I love the idea of being able to reach out to someone that knows you for advice. And, you know, not everybody has that. Let's just remind ourselves that if we don't have that in our own lives, in our real lives, listening to this podcast right now, if you don't feel like you have that person, it's time to figure out how to develop a relationship with someone so that in the next 5, 10, 20 years, you do have that person. And it is hard work. I'm lucky enough to have a loving mother and father who have known me for my whole life. So if I wanted to talk to them and get some advice, they're going to be able to like look back on my life and give me advice, I would hope, based on all their experiences with me. But that's still not a guarantee, you know, it's still not a guarantee. So my hope now at this age that I'm at now is to go, okay, if I want to have a community that can know me very well, and if I want to develop those friendships and those relationships where I have that abuela person that I can say, hey, I'm having a crisis here, that they can go, I know you. Here is what's true. Here's my truth for you. That's a really powerful thing to want.
Oh yeah.
And it's especially powerful when you're floating on a starship. When you want your family, when you want to have that. And I think for Discovery to like hit on that really quickly, that deep family, someone knowing you, it's hard whenever you don't feel like that's true. And so it's hard work. And sometimes you're born into a family that knows you, loves you, cares about you. And you can see this relationship on screen between the doctor and his grandmother, and you know that relationship. I'm lucky enough to be like, oh, I had that with my grandmother. And I would bring her back if I could, and she wouldn't be a zombie computer program. But there is something about the loss and going, oof, I don't have that. So how do you find it? How do you find that in today's truth? Like, is it through a counselor relationship where they're neutral, and so you know that their advice is based on, you know, their studies and however they've reached their particular craft? Is it a family member? Is it a friend? You know, we're all crafting our echo chamber, and we're all crafting who we want to hear from. And so it's a huge topic to hit on. And I'm glad that we sunk into it for a second. And I hope that it's one that, like, even with all the big hits that Star Trek does with the different themes, I hope it's one that like hits the audience in the right way, because that might be, now that we've talked about it, one of my favorite little moments of this episode that I totally forgot existed for a split sec.
Well, it's extra interesting for me because there's another angle they could come at this from, which is this is a crew removed from time. Like, everybody on Discovery has been yoinked from the 2200s and has now been living in the 3100s for 3 years. They are now removed from their family, their friends, everything that they know, those connections that you're talking about, all that they have is each other. They should all be in therapy for the amount of loss that they're all feeling. They've all lost pretty much everybody, and they had like a split second to make that choice as well. They had no time for goodbyes or anything like that. So I wish the show was taking that angle a bit more and dealing with the trauma of being out of time. But yeah, super interesting.
Yeah, I think we've had this sort of like quick revelation multiple times doing the show where we take a step back and go, whoa, the amount of trauma that the crew would be experiencing based on XYZ and be able to continue to function, that has to mean that they have healthy dialogue somehow. For the show to show us the evolution of a computer-led counseling program was pretty unique. I liked it. And also the idea that who does the counselor get their counsel from? You know?
Love that. And you should be as a counselor. I think counselors are expected to be in therapy themselves. It just popped into my head. We have seen this kind of hologram being pulled from the psyche before, and it's in season 1 of Picard with Rios and the La Serena, and how each of his crew is pulled out of his brain. So the pilot is a version of him, the doctor is a version of him, the engineer is a Scottish version of him. And they do get into a room and have this therapy session together because each one of them contains a piece of this memory. So yeah, Star Trek loves touching on this idea. I love it. I like it when it does. It's amazing.
Yeah, me too.
Just a couple more things, very, very quick things to wrap up. I love the joy that Burnham experiences when she's talking about the languages and the xenobiology and the language and stuff. Like, her eyes light up, and Tilly can see it as well. It's fun to see her be an explorer for a minute instead of being at battle stations. And very lastly, I loved that we had a good old isolinear chip switch around to fix the control panel thing, move the chips from here. And isolinear chips actually got a shout out because that's the technology that would have been used by the Denobulans when they put the control panel thing together. Isolinear chips for the win. I love them.
Yeah. That'll launch me into some sins, though. So should we do pips first?
Let's do it. Overall pips for the episode.
I think I'm going to go with 3 pips.
Yeah, I'm going to 3.5 pip. This is a really, really, really good one. This is for me doing what Star Trek does best. I really liked it. So yeah, 3.5 pips. Well, with that, let's head over to engineering to do some sins. Battle stations, red alert. No. Damn it. Battle stations, black alert.
Black alert. Black alert. Black alert.
I did it. This is the part of the show where we re-engage our sin brains, remind ourselves that no TV show is without sin, even our beloved Star Trek. Let's fly, Ambassador.
Mine was the time to fix the bomb cliche. Just this idea. It was really cool looking, though. I forgot to mention all the cool technology, so I'll sprinkle it into the sins. But this idea that she opens up this panel, leans against it. A squirrel could touch this thing and it would pop open, apparently.
Just a bear sits on it.
The bomb appears, and then it's also transported through this eye technology up into the ship where the other person finagles with it, and it was just the ticking time bomb cliche in all of its glory.
Countdown, and then the moral conundrum and convincing the person to do it. And then, so I mean, this ties into a lot of cliches, which is the prodigal child loses their mother, remembers a lullaby. That's key to the story. The overprotective father cliche, like we mentioned it in the show, but this has all of them cliche going.
Yeah,
all of them.
And I recognize, I know that this is not a bomb, but they literally said if you mess it up, everybody dies. So it is a bomb.
It acts as it's a plot bomb.
It is a plot bomb. It's one of those where like, which wires am I cutting? And it kind of is supposed to juxtapose, like there's the tension of the bomb being, fixed, mixed with the tension of who's going to win the
problem is
the thirst race.
The problem is we've already peaked when it comes to moving isolinear chips around to
Yeah.
save a plot bomb.
That's right.
Because Data
Data.
did it in the naked. You remembered
Oh yeah.
with
The data speed.
speedy yes. Oh, it's so great.
Mhm,
How long is this
mhm.
going to take? Slightly longer than we have left. Oh,
Mhm.
brilliant.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah, we've
Mhm.
already peaked with Data.
Yeah.
Okay, this is my biggest sin, and it's one that I've seen echoed in the chat, and I think everybody at home will agree with me. Discovery, I beg of you, stop edging us with aliens that you refuse to show us. The Zenkethi, the Denobulans. Stop teasing me with aliens I know and love, and they're not showing them to me. I need to see Denobulans again.
Oh
Stop it.
no. You've already got the jelly breen. You don't need
Well, the
something
irony
else.
is you've shown me the one alien that I haven't seen before. I want some fan service.
I
Give
don't
me some
know.
Denobulans.
I don't know. I think there's usually mention of some alien thing I haven't seen before, so I don't know that it bothers me that much. But I get it. Okay.
I want it. I want to see it. But I'm happy they get so. What the way I would be sending this regardless, because I'd be like, why are you inventing a new species when you can just pick one that we already know? So they literally can't win. I want everything. I really do. I want my aliens and I want to eat them too.
Ew.
Wait. Your turn,
Gross.
Ambassador.
My original sin on this was making the death chamber this elaborate. But then I realized that the death chamber is actually the technology.
To be a death chamber. I really want the Denobulans to come back and just be like, wait, no, that's not what we meant. That's
yeah.
the worst.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna sin retinal tricorders because I don't like them. It doesn't make it. Stop it. Stop putting tricorders in my eyes. I get it. It makes sense. We are not far away from contact lenses being able to do heads-up displays and whatnot. Stop it. Stop it.
Yeah. It's like whenever you see somebody that's in the movies and they're in the desert and they pull out their little canteen and then they pull it up to their face and then just pours out all over and doesn't go into their mouth.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
But stop it.
Yeah. Stop it.
Stop it.
Enough.
That's enough now.
One of my favorite sins from the chat was creating a tablet that dehydrates you in the middle of a drought to summon the water.
There's so much drought sin in this episode. There's just so much going along. But the idea, I think, is that they're trying to recreate this moment historically when obviously someone decided to give somebody water, died of dehydration, and then right then the water kicks in. They're like, well, we're doing this again next year, everybody.
Yeah. It's like there's an episode of Malcolm in the Middle where the dad is like, he gets a strike and then he thinks it's because he like rubbed his shirt a certain way.
Yeah.
And he gets a strike again, but he does something different. And he ends up with like this 60-second routine that he has to do to guarantee he'll get a strike. We love patterns. They make us feel comfortable. We need patterns and explanations.
This is why people don't wash their socks before a game. They have all these, or they stop shaving.
Absolutely. Hey.
I mean for sports.
I don't sports.
Yeah.
Come on, Ambassador. I know you want to sin the legal pad.
I really do.
Do it.
But I already did it in the show, so
did you? Was there anything else you want to say about it?
No. It was really funny. I was actually watching that scene, and I saw. I was like, I started sinning the legal pad in the future.
Yeah.
By the way, that desk was fucking cool looking, wasn't it?
Oh yes.
How fucking cool was that?
So freaking cool.
And it's just this
made
slab.
My eyes go wonky.
And so then he has this ugly yellow legal paper, and so I started writing about it.
Vintage.
And then he references it himself, and so I almost thought, okay, so I can't sin it. But then, I figured out there's so many more cool pieces of paper to use than legal pad, but
True, but it's very Kovich. And I like that it's kind of analog because as a spy person, maybe having pen and paper is kind of like, this isn't digital, nobody can find this, etc. And he would just find the most boring paper that he could possibly find to do it. It wouldn't be fancy at all. Yeah. That would be my argument against that. We have a species looks very human cliche in Star Trek. However, that kind of ties in to the seeding the planets and everybody looking vaguely human. So I guess we're not allowed to sin that anymore, but we will because it's still nonsense.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely nonsense. I mean, everything is just the simple cliche of being in the right place at the right time. You know, Michael beams in, is able to hear the humming song, which she's able to then hum, which then convinces the father to listen to her. She's got this really cool eye scan thing. Just scan the room and find the cool thing in the floor and fucking pull it, you know?
Yeah.
And there's lots of ways to solve that problem, but I know that this story is trying to do what it's trying to do.
Yeah.
Lots and lots and lots of just cliche things happening all over the place.
Everywhere all at once. This was a silly little one, but when Culber is trying to convince Stamets to help him with the neural scan and whatnot, Culber at the end Culber says, how long has it been since we were able to work together on a project? And I'm like, are we just forgetting Fred? They took apart Fred together. They opened his body up and they took his memories and they did the circuitry. They were literally working together weeks, if not days ago. Why are we forgetting Fred?
And the sin is from Fred dying.
Stop erasing Fred from our memories. We will not forget Fred. He is not better off dead.
They're not bringing him back.
I don't think they are.
I'm so sad about that, honestly. Something about seeing a Data-esque droid just makes me so happy. How funny would it be to have this old tech android trying to integrate with the ship? The ship would fall in love with Fred, you know.
Oh, that's the love story we need.
That's the love
Zora
story
and
we
Fred.
need. Zora and Fred.
Fredora. Hashtag Fredora.
Hashtag Fedora.
Amazing. We're going to do the biggest one of the episode, or at least I am going to do the biggest one of the episode, which is fucking Prime Directive. It is so contradictory. I cannot get my head around it. So, the Denobulans, somehow they're allowed on the Dune planet to install these water towers that are going to give everybody water, because otherwise everyone...
So, I have a question. Is the Prime Directive for just, like, Federation people, or is it just, like, accepted by all people?
It's the Federation. Like,
so these are part of the Federation. This alien species is part of...
I'm pretty sure are part of the Federation, yes. Okay. So they should have to abide by...
So somebody's going to be in big trouble.
Well, I don't think so, because I think this was allowed. I think it was somehow allowed for them to save this race, even though the natural course of their history is to die. Like, that's the whole... They're just going to die. Okay. But the fact that we've now interfered and given them a religion based around these summits that bring the water, I feel like the Prime Directive is moot, because they've done it. They've already, like...
Yeah, they did it. Yeah, there's no going back.
You now have, like, an obligation to save them, I would think. Or, like, the transport... Like, Prime Directive's out the window. You've already interfered, and they're saying that we can't save this woman. She's coughing up a lung. We can't save this woman because of the Prime Directive. Her great-great-great-great-great-grandparents should be dead. Like, you saved them with the water. What's the nuance in not saving this woman? It's so confusing. But even if I screwed that up and the Denobulans aren't part of Starfleet or the Federation or whatever, it still feels weird that they're sticking to the Prime Directive so much when the species shouldn't exist if it wasn't for outside interference.
It's just bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just going to go along with your passion.
Yeah. And nothing will come of it. I guarantee it. Nothing will come along with her beaming in front of this.
Which is surprising, because there was the episode earlier on where, like, I think it was the first episode where they're immediately called into a meeting. Raynor and Michael are immediately called into the meeting going, guys, you fucked up. So we've seen this episode immediately deal with trouble like this. So
Interferences like this.
yeah, we'll see what
But
happens.
it's the red directive thing, so I think they'll just sweep it under the carpet. or whatnot.
Probably.
But it's always messy. When we get into the prime directive, I'm always scratching my head, and this one fundamentally so, considering these people shouldn't exist were it not for the outside interference of other people. But there we go.
Well, that's it for me.
Okay, I've got stealing your language from the clangers, which will be a reference maybe two people in the audience get. This was an old TV show where little pink people would live on the moon, and they spoke exclusively in whistles. And there was a soup dragon that also lived on the moon.
A soup dragon.
A soup dragon that lived on the moon, and the clangers would all talk to each other in whistles. So yeah.
And you watched this?
I watched this with my mother. Yes.
Okay, that explains a lot.
They would whistle adorably, and they communicated with whistles. And Star Trek is ripping off the clangers.
And soup. There
was no soup. Don't be ridiculous. What else did I have? I'm amazed that they just ate the sugar cube or the salt cube or whatever that cube was. They were so trusting.
They were so trusting.
We're just going to eat this regardless of our biology.
I honestly thought that maybe because they are advanced that they had a way of counteracting it somehow. But no, they were just along for the ride.
Just in it. Just full trust. I thought they were all going to like just rapidly be passing out and like just immediately dying. So back on the prime directive. Okay, you've decided to break the prime directive. You've beamed in. You've saved the day. Did you have to tell them about Discovery? Did you have to tell them that you also have a spaceship in space and give them an in-orbit view of their planet? Like, she doesn't just break the prime directive minimally. She's like, well, we're in for a penny, in for a pound. Let's tell them everything.
Yeah, it was kind of like, well, now that I've told you that I'm an alien, let me show you all of my secrets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but at the same time, I think I can understand why they would need to have some evidence, and I've seen that happen in I think TNG before, where I was like, we need to show you more about what this is. We need you to actually see, and they'll take them to the ship and then show them their planet from like the ship's observation deck. And in this episode, there was no observation deck. They just kind of showed a hologram or whatever.
Somebody to just straight up have a heart attack and just die from surprise. It would be a big shock, I'd imagine. I just have one last thing from last week, which was mentioned by a few people and a couple of people emailed in. They took umbrage with the fact that Stamets is on the bridge, and as the ISS Enterprise emerges from the galactic vulva, he immediately says, oh, that's the ISS Enterprise. And a lot of people took issue with like, how the hell did he read that so quickly? Because it's on the ship. And all we see is like the crest of the saucer section emerging. And he is immediately like, oh, it's the ISS Enterprise. I just took that as the ship scanned it and he read it and then said what the ship was. But it does kind of look like he's just looking at the ship, reads the name on it, and then immediately says it. So it might be a little bit too nitpicky, but I wanted to mention it because a few people emailed in. Did that strike you when you watched the episode, or is that jettisoned from your brain?
No, it didn't strike me in the moment. I can definitely see it being a nitpicky sin, and that's what we do at Cinema Sin. So great job. I kind of wondered if there was something on the screen or like on their computers that scans it and then just shows you the information on a pad or something that's a little closer. But I make a lot of assumptions about their technology. So,
well, I mean, they just invent whatever they want. It's so far in the future. Okay, well, with that, let's head over to the Captain's Ready Room to go over some predictions for next week. Predictions. Welcome to the Captain's Ready Room, where we hear our predictions for the rest of the season and bask in our Q-like glory if anything we have predicted has previously come true. Sadly, the liquid is just distilled water. Ugh. It is not Odo. It is not a changeling.
Just water. Danae. Just water. So boring.
One of our listeners did predict that this would be completely Lock and Mole vacant, but then they would turn up at the very, very end. They didn't technically turn up. We are heading towards them. That was a very good prediction.
That's a good prediction because they actually were mentioned like, hey, but it wasn't at the end. It was kind of before she went. Wait, no, it was at the end, wasn't it?
Very, very end.
Yeah.
Well, at the beginning, she assumes that Kovic is going to tell them to jump to Lock and Mole's position. But he says, no, we have another ship searching for them. You need to focus on the clues.
Their quote unquote turning up is by mention at the end. I think that totally counts. That's absolutely a good prediction. Yeah.
Yep. Well done. Good prediction. For the rest of the season, you've predicted that Lock and Mole will have a big redemptive moment and become the good guys, and that Luck will join Starfleet. Can't really develop anything further on that.
No, I think I would need to evolve that to be that he's going to die.
I think that's my prediction, is that Luck is actually going to die, and that will motivate Mole. He'll end up sacrificing himself, I believe. My prediction was that the liquid will be alien DNA that is used to find the planet. I was wrong. It's Star Trek knows. I think Discovery knows that would have been a very Star Trek thing to do. It's kind of cool that it is just water, and it's the water itself is the clue and the scratchings. I think that was fine.
Which is a bummer because I thought that it was like a person because they like scanned it and it seemed to have like a some sort of a presence. Remember?
Yeah, it was a signature, but I think it had a Prime Universe signature in a mirror universe ship. I think that's what they were detecting.
Gotcha. So it wasn't a person. Okay.
No, it wasn't a person. No.
Which is
well,
bad.
Next week's episode is called Eriga.
Great. That gives me nothing.
Is
that a planet?
No. So Eriga is the thing where last week's episode, Burnham said, "Oh, there's an Eriga out on you, your Breen," and Eriga is that. I think it's that bounty thing where the Breen are chasing down Locke because he's revealed his face.
Okay.
I think it gives.
I don't know if it's because he revealed his face or because he killed everybody.
That too.
Because he did kill everybody. Yeah.
So, any predictions based on that?
Well, I mean, that just means that it's going to be Lock and Mall again.
Yeah.
Okay. Woo. Great. I don't have any other predictions. I mean, we know that there's one scientist remaining from the list, so if there's something, there, I immediately assumed that it was that person's name, but I don't know enough about Star Trek or Star Trek lore to make any leaps in logic about the remaining scientist. Obviously, though, they've given it to us, which is interesting because earlier on in this season, they were saying that no one knew the names or something like that. Like we didn't have information, and now they're giving it to the audience.
COVID, Ex Machina, just
COVID. And so I can't, there's got to be some clues in there about who those people are, but I don't know what they are.
No.
And obviously, if it's this Breen name, like the bounty blood tie or whatever. Ugh.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm just not excited about it. That just tanked my interest in next week down to like a -6.
I'm going to try and boost it up for you. My prediction is that the mystery will completely stall for a week. We're not going to get the next clue because the Discovery and crew are going to have to face the Breen. And I think the Breen are going to also discover Lock and Mole and want to fulfill this Eriga bounty thing that they have against them. And I think we're going to get an interesting space battle. I think we're going to have conflict with the Breen. I have slightly higher hopes. I think we're going to have quite an action adventure episode next week.
Okay, well,
with no mystery progression.
I don't know. I don't have a lot of interest in it at this moment in time. Like, I think now's a good time to just stop watching Discovery. Everybody,
just finish on episode.
Let's finish on this episode. Let's be done with it. I don't know. The idea that the Breen might be getting a hold of the weapon means that most likely the clues are either going to change hands and maybe they have to exchange clues for the weapon for their lives or something crazy like that, that there's an exchange of some kind, and it gives the Breen the advantage, and then there's more at stake than ever before for them to get to the weapon before the Breen.
There's an invisible ship that's been following, an invisible Breen ship that's been following along the way, because these treasure hunts always have one of the bad guys that's letting the main people do the work for them, and then they swoop in at the end to get the weapon. Because you only need discovery to do the work, and then you just swoop in at the last second to get the weapon.
I think the thing that I'm not looking forward to is they've been building this idea of this mysterious race, that has given life to everything, and that you could potentially use it for good or for evil. And I'm afraid that they're not going to spend a lot of time letting us live in that. I would hope that next episode we get to the weapon. Get us to the weapon.
Nope.
Let us see the battle. Let us see them actually use it for evil, and then let's go for the weapon and then change history again. Show us things going terribly so that we can see things going well. Instead, I feel like they're going to do what happens in every single one, where it's just going to be rushed at the end. Blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I'm nervous. I'm glad this episode went well, but I'm nervous. I'm officially nervous.
I can be hopeful and also nervous at the same time. Well, with that, everybody, if you have any predictions or anything you'd like to send into the show, drop us an email, captainspod@cinemasins.com. Join our bustling community on Discord, discord.gg/cinemasins, and join our lovely Captain's Pod people in there. You guys are the best. I'm Captain Ian, and with that, it's my voice that has been beckoning you home.
Oh, I was supposed to do a quote.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have a backup one if you want it.
I forgot to look for my quote.
I've got one for you if you want it.
No, leave me alone.
Okay.
What if I just do like a boring one that's like, I've got to get the dust off the thing. Oh no. I thought I had a really fun one, but I'll just go with this one. And it's "Stay strong, my good compeer from me."
Oh, I nearly went with "You have a very handsome human brain."
That'd be a good one too.
Live long and Podspa.
I don't want to die.
You're a little shit, you know that from me.
Right? Just whistle. Oh yeah, and it's from me.
I'm going to show you a picture of the clangers.
I'm going to take a quick break.
Oh, okay. Cool. I won't be doing that because it's no fun to watch me search for things while the ambassador has disappeared. So let's jump into the comments. Paulie says, introduce a cool new language thing and immediately get rid of it. Where's the Whistlespeak duo? I know. Yeah, completely agree. It sounded really awesome, and then they just kind of stopped and said, we're not going to do that for the rest of the episode. What else have we got? Lord, I should actually do that this time. I should just read Lord of the Rings. I'll also always associate clangers with that episode of Doctor Who. Which one? Were the clangers in Doctor Who? Which aliens are you speaking of? Sci-Fi Brony. Slab backing me up with a Google search. Distilled water helps minimize buildup of materials on clothes and on the iron. I knew it. Distilled water is a thing. You do use that for ironing. I was right. That's the most important.
I'm not surprised.
That's all you need to know.
Sorry, my air conditioner stopped working, and it is 79 degrees in this room.
Oh gosh, that's hot
very
as
warm
heck.
in this room. So I was like, I got to go fix something.
Yeah, I got to go.
Something
do that
has happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jelly Breen.
Okay, what did you want to show me?
Oh, I wanna do a question while I bring up the. I'll find this picture.
Do a question while I bring up this picture. Do you have a question in mind, or are you wanting me to find a question?
No. Sorry, go into the comments.
Okie dokie. Sin removal from Sci-Fi Brony, who says Burnham actually has a reason to go on this away mission. since she's a xenoanthropologist.
Yeah, she is.
I liked that too. Her passion was really cool. Sin removal. There is a betazoid on the list of scientists named Marina, and the first half betazoid we met, Troy, was played by Marina Sirtis.
That's probably just a nice nod.
That's cool.
Like that.
Do you think that means we're going to go to betazoid next week?
Maybe. I mean, it would make sense. It would make sense.
Sin removal. Someone finally prefers replicators because they're cooking his ass. There you go.
Really should.
Oh my gosh.
Aren't they adorable?
They're like anteaters.
Yeah, they're like anteaters that live on the moon.
I feel like what's happening right now is likened to me showing someone Fraggles from Fraggle Rock for the first time.
It's the same thing.
It's like, look at this thing from my childhood. Isn't it cute? And you're like,
I think these predate the Fraggles, but they are adorable. I really like them.
Sin, creating a drug specifically designed to make you thirsty on a planet where water is scarce. Yep. Sin, I was going to send the 21st century legal pad in the 3100s, then realized I was writing the Sin on a 21st century legal pad. So I guess the Sin is on me for writing longhand and then typing it out.
Amazing.
I like it. Sin, we need to be careful with technology. Is the only intended lesson, unless the Denebulans planned for the towers to fail and intended for the sacrificial ritual to happen. I don't know if they planned for it. I mean, there's a world where everything would have just been operating as normal when they arrived, and all the towers would have been working, and they just would have come and found whatever the evolution of that society would have been.
I think David might be saying maybe the Denobulans are evil, and they did mean for it to happen.
Because that's a lesson, I suppose, in a way. Interesting. Sin removal. Michael says the natives of the planet recognize 3 genders. Later, when we meet Rava, the pronunciations indicate they are probably the 3rd gender. Nice bit of world culture building. Yep.
Yeah, it's
Sin.
Really cool.
Considering not stopping the ritual of sacrificing people to the gods just to keep people from being pissed about change. It's hard. When you're on the Prime Directive, you have to think about a lot of... That's a lot.
Prime Directive.
So I looked it up, says Polly, and the Denebulans said it was never confirmed that they joined the Federation, so no Prime Directive for them as we know it.
Interesting. Okay.
And that was from an hour ago. So
it's so crazy that the Prime Directive can ever be maintained, to be honest.
I think it was vibration, Link. I think the intended thing was that the sound from the bowls is a vibrational approach to breaking up something in the lungs.
Some kind of resonance thing happening.
Sin, religion, is a secret that only the elder is allowed to know about. I was actually just talking to a friend of mine yesterday about a book that I read when I was like 12 or 13. So it's kind of more of a younger reading level, but it was this book by Cheryl Jordan, I believe. In fact, it's actually in its 25th edition reprint right now, and it's $30 for a paperback book if you want to try to read this yourself. I know this because I ended up getting a $30 paperback so that if I ever want to loan it out, I'm not loaning out my original copy, which is very tattered at this point. The reason I'm talking about this, the book is called Winter of Fire. And it's a very similar kind of vibe of a religion that's built around something that protects somebody where only the special people can know the special sauce, and a society kind of erupts around it. So it's a tale as old as time. And when it's written really well, it's an interesting story that kind of mimics our own stories in a lot of ways, I think, from our own history. But this particular one, I think I would recommend. It's called Winter of Fire, and it's about a society that has kind of the slaves and then the upper society, and how an unassuming girl from the slave society called the Quelled kind of rises up the ranks in an unexpected way and breaks tradition. So it's kind of a fun story if anyone's looking for a good read for a young person.
Nice. Jonathan
Winter-
might like that. He likes
Winter of
reading.
Fire is a good one.
Can I show you? Can I show you what the clangers sound like?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just keep going through this. What an annoying sound.
It's the entire episode. That's their entire language. They would just whistle to each other like that.
How long are these episodes?
I think like 20 minutes, something like that.
Wow.
It could be shorter.
Is it the same sound or do they
No,
change those?
It's very. That was the major clanger. He was
Woo.
he was the guy in charge that was like giving out some very
The
important
the
news.
major clanger.
Major clanger. Yeah.
That sounds like an insult. That sounds like an English insult. You major clanger.
What a major clanger!
Let's see. Sin, would you want? Oh yes. I put that one up on screen earlier. How was Burnham so sure that the moss mutilation was what was going on?
It was
there?
a leap,
Mhm.
big leap.
Yeah.
Paid off. But it's also science, I guess.
DSC pulled an S&W and allowed child murder. Yeah, this kind of came up a little bit. Yeah. Like that there was maybe a...
Strange New Worlds did... Discovery did the thing we didn't like
Yes.
Strange New Worlds for doing. Yeah.
Yeah, I hated it.
Yeah.
But in this one, they saved the child. And
They
they
did.
shift society and perhaps leave it a better place than where they found it. Whereas in Strange New Worlds, they didn't stop it. That fucking episode, man, it still haunts me.
Just stick with you. Maybe they'll come back to it.
I hope so.
Two.
If they
Yeah.
don't, I hope another show comes back and fixes that problem. Let's
Save
see.
those kids.
Burnham's moss theory turns out to be correct, but the moss could have just been dying. Yep.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
This came up during our like who counsels the counselor conversation. So Sarah says, when I was a kid, my doctor dad got the flu and was in bed for a week, and I thought that he would lose his job because doctors can't get sick, and if they do, they're no longer doctors. Aww. I love it when our like little child brains are trying to like work through a problem and you're just not quite sure how that makes sense. Because yeah, doctors can't get sick because they're the doctors.
Yeah. Who fixes the doctors? Physician, heal thyself.
I thought this too, Flyboy. I'm glad you brought this up. Burnham expresses surprise that the Hellemino's language has multiple words for pain and then rattles off multiple words for pain in English.
No, okay, so...
I had the same thought.
But I think it's different because we do just have one...
Literally does the same thing. I had the same thought. I think that the better example would be like we say the word love, but there are
Better
some
example.
languages where there's different kinds of love. Like because I was raised in like the whole like biblical. There's the agape love, which is like a friendship type love, and there's more complexity to the word love. So when interpreting like biblical text, they're just dumping in the word love. But in the original text, it was much more complicated. It's a specific type of love. And I think that the show kind of failed to example that by just literally naming different kinds of pain.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I get what you mean now. Yeah, there's a better example in there.
Michelle Yeoh to receive Presidential Medal of Freedom? What is this about?
Really? That's awesome. That'll be really cool if true. I'm sure it is true.
Let's see. Oscar-winning actor Michelle Yeoh is among this year's 19 recipients of the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the White House announced 6 hours ago. Well, that's fucking cool. Don't we just love that?
Well deserved. She's great. It's crazy it's taken this long to recognize her though. Like she's been great for a long time.
Oh my gosh. When did you first remember seeing Michelle Yeoh?
Michelle Yeoh, it would be Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was it. That was the same for me
good.
too. Is she on Discovery? Am I missing her somewhere?
Oh no. So she was in season 1 and she was in the first 3 seasons, and it's sometime in season 4 they had to write her out.
Okay.
Yeah. She was
Okay.
the original captain of the Shenzhou, which was in the
Okay.
pilot.
Okay,
As in the first episode.
that's the crazy episode that I saw. And I know she was in
Yes.
Everything Everywhere All at Once, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
She's in
No,
so
no.
much.
Sorry. It would have been Tomorrow Never Dies. She was I think the Chinese opposite number to Bond.
Oh, okay.
So stinking good in that.
Let's
I
go
still
back to
may
the
have
beginning.
seen Crouching Tiger before then.
Okay, so we're
Oh,
going
no,
back
it's
to the
been one of
beginning
those.
here.
She's great. And she's getting her own movie. So she's going to be leading the Section 31 movie.
Shit. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon was in 2000. Before that was like Moonlight Express, Tomorrow Never Dies, The Sung Sisters, The Stunt Woman. There's a lot, but I've never seen.
Cop, I think is one of them. I haven't seen it.
Super Cop. Yep. Super Cop was in 1992. Super Cop 2 was in 93. The first one that's listed on IMDb is The Owl versus Bumbo. And then Twinkle, Twinkle, Lucky Stars, Yes, Madam, Royal Warriors, Dynamic Fighters, Easy Money, and then Super Cop.
She's amazing. She's so good. So good.
There's so much. That's awesome. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon was one of the cool, like, it just changed my perspective. Oh God, what was the other one that I watched? I watched it over.
Daggers, or whatever.
No.
House of Flying Daggers.
Is that it? No, I don't think that was it. It kind of came out around that same time.
The Matrix.
Was it House of Flying Daggers? Is that right?
I always associate those two together.
I don't think it was that one.
But I think House of Flying Daggers was quite a bit later. She's so good in Tomorrow Never Dies. She's a highlight in that movie.
I wonder which ones like kind of came out in that same era. There was one that I watched over and over and over again. It was Hero. It wasn't her. It was Hero. Did you ever see Hero?
No, I think so.
I think that was it. Sorry, I'm all of a sudden having this like.
I have a funny story about Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. I actually watched it with my parents, and this is back in the day. You could pay for movies on the TV. You could rent them. Like,
remember when you could rent a movie on the TV?
Before they came out on the box office stuff, you could just buy it on the TV for a couple of bucks. So my dad pays for this movie. What he didn't realize he paid for was the entire non-English dub of it. So it's the original version. So it was just English subtitles. And I was, I think, 10 or 11 years old. So I was just like too lazy to read all of the subtitles. So my mum read all of the subtitles as they happened.
Oh, that is so sweet. That's so cool.
We always give him shit about that, though.
So you never saw Hero?
No. I did
not. So we have like a list of movies that we will be brought up when you and I chat. That's like, oh, we should watch that one. Let's add Hero to that one. It's it's one of my favorites.
Awesome.
Let's see. Hero is directed by Yang Yimou. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce that. Who was a great filmographer and does great things. That's it. It's so colorful, and it's such an interesting. The way that color is used as part of the storytelling of this particular movie, it's a mystery. It's kind of like it unfolds as you watch it, and you're not quite sure what to believe. It's really, really cool.
That's cool. Let's do it.
So I highly recommend this one. And it's also one that by the end you're like, what? No.
Mind blown.
Jet Li. Yeah, who was in this one? Let's take a look. And then we'll move on. I promise. We'll get back to the actual show.
Wait a second.
What? Did you see this one and you just don't remember it?
I was thinking Michelle. Is Michelle Yeoh in it?
No. It's just when I saw the picture of this one, when I saw the picture of Crouching Tiger, because I remember I watched Crouching Tiger and then but this was the one that had all of my attention. It's you have? Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have seen it.
Jet Li and Maggie Chung, maybe? Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah.
Did you
I
like
have seen
it?
that movie. I remember liking it. I haven't seen it since I think 2004, 2005, something like that.
It's funny because I watched this so many times. I just remember so much about it.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I would be amazed if I'd seen it more than once.
Yeah, okay. Well, it's definitely worth a rewatch in my opinion. What does it get on IMDb? How many stars are we talking
That's always
about?
interesting. Don't ruin it for yourself.
7.9.
Oh, it's good. It's well reviewed.
Yeah.
87% on Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah.
We would have to
like
plan
it.
for it, Link, but it wouldn't be a bad idea.
Donnie Yen as well. Oh, Donnie Yen, what a dude. He's great.
And back to the actual show, Danae says, even though we're now in the part that will end up in the outtakes. Do you think so?
Yeah, this
I
isn't.
don't think
This
so.
can be whatever you want.
Maggie Chung was in Hero in about 500 Jackie Chan movies.
Yeah, but he has done 5,000 Jackie Chan movies.
It was. I think I saw Hero first, and it was my first time watching a movie that did like the wire work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Wire.
Okay, so let's get back to your comments, and then we actually have to jet today.
You gotta
I
do
cannot
some
hang
work.
out super long. I've got some more stuff that I've got to do. But thank you, Sarah, for bringing up that breaking news.
We have some videos to review.
We didn't, in the actual show, we did not talk about how the next scientist is a Betazoid named Marina, but was it confirmed that she is Betazoid? Was it on that paper, or are we just assuming that because of the link to the names?
I can't remember if it specifically wrote that she was the Betazoid scientist, but it would be a really nice time. Why wouldn't you?
Wandering says, if we go to Betazoid, it would be weird because the false clue in episode 2 pointed to Beta Z. So why point to a planet falsely that actually has a clue? Yeah.
Yeah, imagine if you accidentally found the 6th clue while you were looking for the 2nd clue.
Here's some information from Lodair. By the way, Ian, you mentioned the pod this week that they shot scenes from the last episode after finding out about the cancellation. But according to SMG and Michelle Paradise, they didn't reshoot anything. They shot additional scenes.
I think I said that they reshot was probably the wrong word, but I didn't mean that they rewrote anything or reshot existing footage, but they did add additional scenes into the final episode to give it more of a wrap up. So I imagine there'll be.
I'm so nervous.
Here's where everybody is going. Yeah.
Ugh. We'll see how it looks. Moopsie versus the trail. Could Moopsie beat the trail? There's no bones on. Well, there might be bones on the trail. Maybe like animal
there's
bones.
Loads of bones. Yeah.
I think
Moopsie needs water.
Right. And what would incentivize Moopsie to run would be a thirst for bones, which if there's a whole collection of people at the end celebrating, that would be Moopsie's motivation.
Just chasing the person in front of them.
Which means that Moopsie would complete the trail, so the trail would win.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying the trail.
I think the trail wins.
Moopsie versus the dust storm. Is the dust storm made of bones?
I don't think so. Oh, I think it is actually. I think it's made up of the bones of the people it's killed.
So I think Moopsie would win and be very happy.
Yeah.
The paper did say she was Betazoid, hence my earlier sin removal. Oh,
yeah, that's why they've done it then. Yeah,
interesting. Ooh. Well, maybe that's the problem, is that next week they're going to be like, oh, there is one on Beta Z, but then Locke and Maul are going to overtake the episode and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, maybe they already got it, perhaps.
Yeah. As long as it's not ENT finale part 2.
I think it's fine. The finale to Enterprise was disappointing for some, but I think if you look back on it, then it has its merits. But it was a bit shit to the crew, is what I will say. It's a bit harsh.
Link, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go eat food. I'm so hungry.
Yeah.
We start this show at 11 a.m. before lunch and don't have time to eat. So Fridays are a crazy day for us. But we love doing the live show, so we're going to keep doing it until I pass out.
Ian's theory presupposes that Dust Storm is Moopsie's favorite milkshake. Yeah, I think so.
Oh, just like a nice little milkshake.
Just eating pea soup.
Oh, we didn't turn this off. Hello.
Oh, hello. Hello.
Who's in charge of that?
You. I have all of the soundboard things that I have to do. Look, I have emails. I have to do, even though we don't even do that part of the show, I still uploaded it to here for some reason.
This is the first day that you've used those in months and months and months and months and months.
It's the first time I've ever used them because I only uploaded them this week.
Destiny, I can't do the
Star Trek,
actual
what the
live
fuck is wrong with you?
production of the show because I have to push all of these funky buttons. That was Aaron and Ian and I. Yeah. I think we did that during Strange New Worlds because when Strange New Worlds is on, then Aaron joins us for the show.
And I literally just said, "Can you give me a transition bumper?" And
we all did.
You did it.
Went crazy.
One take. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The first couple of pods, I thought the email sound cue was live every week. I think it was intended to be so. I think it was intended to be so.
Yep.
100%. Absolutely. Guys, we'll see you next week for a normal recording. We are changing things up a little bit for Recotopia. You'll be able to enjoy the show with Chris and Aaron next week. And then, of course, Ian and I will join you every Friday. Although we are going to have a bit of a show hiatus coming up sometime in the summer, but don't cry too much because we all need a break from Star Trek every once in a while, right? Like,
what? No, some bullshit.
Right?
No, we don't.
Right?
No, I'm going to do this show on my own. You just have to listen to me.
Go get some food, go pee, go take care of yourselves, go build relationships so that you can have a hologram in the future giving you good advice.
Yeah.
Goodbye.